The legend of the warship. In the deep silence of space, a warship drifted without a master. It was not built by any race known in the galaxy. Its surface was black metal, alive with strange patterns of light. Some said the ship was older than every empire. Others believed it had been sent by gods or demons. But no one knew the truth. All they knew was this: the warship was powerful beyond measure. It carried weapons that could erase moons. It could vanish from one star system and appear in another. Its shields could block fire from 100 fleets. To own such a ship meant to control the destiny of worlds. And so, for thousands of years, aliens hunted for it. Kings, warlords, and merchants all dreamed of being its master. The ship, however, had a will of its own. It was alive, and it chose who could command it. But here was the mystery. It never accepted anyone. Every alien that tried to bond with it was rejected. Some were pushed back by an invisible force. Others were burned by strange energy. A few even disappeared, swallowed by the ship's hunger. 10,000 tried and 10,000 failed. The galaxy came to fear the warship. It was no longer called a prize, but a curse. Still, the dream never died. If even one being could control it, that being would rule the stars. And so the ship became legend. Its name was spoken in fear and greed. Whole fleets were lost searching for it. Wars were fought just for rumors of its location, but always the same story repeated. The warship rejected every master. On a quiet space station at the edge of the galaxy, that same warship was brought once again. The auction house glowed with banners. Aliens from 100 races gathered, tall insect-like warriors, scaled reptiles, glowing minds of pure energy. They had all come for one reason: to try their chance, to claim the warship. The docking bay shook when the ship was pulled in. Its black hull hummed with power. Lights crawled across its skin like living veins. The aliens gasped in awe. No matter how many times the galaxy saw it, the ship was terrifying. It was not just metal and circuits. It felt alive, as if it was watching them, judging them, choosing. Whispers filled the air. "This time, maybe it will accept a master," one alien hissed. "No, it will kill us all like the last time," another replied. Merchants rubbed their claws, dreaming of profit. Soldiers sharpened their weapons, hoping to tame the beast. Everyone wanted the warship. Everyone feared the warship. For years, people had said humans were weak, a small species from a small planet. They were workers, janitors, miners, traders, never rulers. Among the crowd in the space station was one such human, a man no one noticed. He was not rich, he was not strong. He wore a simple uniform, his hands dirty from work. He was there only because he had been assigned to clean the docking bay, to sweep the floor where the galaxy's greatest treasure now rested. The man looked at the warship and felt a strange chill. It was not fear, not exactly. It was more like the ship was calling. But he shook his head and bent back to his work. He was just a janitor, nothing more. And yet, destiny had other plans. The auction began. The aliens stepped forward one by one. Each tried to place their hand on the ship. Each was thrown back in failure. Some screamed, some burned, some were left unconscious. Still more came forward. Greed was stronger than fear. The warship rejected them all. The sound of its hum grew louder, almost like laughter, almost like anger. The crowd grew restless. Whispers turned to shouts. "Why does it refuse us? Is there no one worthy?" The legend lived on, but the galaxy was no closer to an answer. In the shadows, the human janitor kept working. He did not know that his life was about to change. He did not know that the ship he cleaned around was more than legend. He did not know that after 10,000 failures, after centuries of rejection, the warship was waiting. Not for a king, not for a warrior, not for a god, but for him. The galaxy did not yet understand that sometimes the greatest power chooses the smallest hand, and sometimes history turns not with the will of the mighty, but with the touch of the unnoticed. The legend of the warship was about to be rewritten, and it would begin with a human janitor, the human nobody noticed. Ethan Cole was not a hero. He was not a soldier, not a leader, not even a traitor. He was a janitor. A man who cleaned the forgotten corners of a space station. Every day he pushed his old cart, filled with rags and cleaners. Every day he swept the floors no one cared about. and every day the aliens walked past him as if he was invisible. To the aliens, humans were weak. They were seen as useful workers, nothing more. They did the jobs no one else wanted. Scrubbing, repairing, hauling boxes. Some races called humans dust rats. Others laughed and asked, what could such fragile creatures ever achieve? Ethan had heard it all before. He never answered back. He just kept working, because work was all he had. But deep inside, Ethan carried quiet thoughts. When he looked out of the station's wide windows into the stars, he sometimes dreamed of more. Not wealth, not power, just something different. A life where he was not forgotten. A life where he could matter even for a moment. Still, dreams were nothing against reality. And reality told him he was just a janitor. On that day, when the alien warship arrived, Ethan was assigned to clean Docking Bay 7. He pushed his cart down the long metallic halls. He passed guards in heavy armor, alien merchants with glowing eyes. None of them looked at him. None of them cared. He was just part of the background like Tim. He walls or the floors. When he entered the docking bay, he froze. The warship rested in the center like a sleeping beast. Its black hull shimmered. Veins of light crawled across its surface like living fire. The air felt heavy, charged with power. Ethan's skin prickled as if invisible fingers brushed against him. He gripped his broom tighter. For a moment he thought the ship was staring at him. The bay was crowded with aliens. Some stood in long lines, waiting their turn. Others whispered nervously. Everyone's attention was locked on the warship. No one noticed Ethan. He was free to walk, unseen. He moved slowly, sweeping the floor. His eyes kept drifting back to the ship. He tried to ignore it, but it was impossible. The warship was like a storm in the middle of the bay. It pulled the gaze, it pulled the mind, and perhaps it pulled something else. One by one, the aliens tried their luck. A tall insect creature stepped forward first. It pressed its clawed hand against the hull. The ship glowed for a second, then threw it back like a rag doll. The insect screeched in pain as smoke rose from its shell. The crowd gasped but did not move, because everyone still wanted the prize. Next, a scaled reptilian warlord stepped forward. His armor clanged as he touched the ship. A blast of light knocked him across the bay. He hit the wall with a sickening thud. His followers dragged him away, groaning. Still, others came forward. Greed was stronger than fear. Ethan pretended not to watch. He dipped his mop into water, wiped the floor. But his ears caught every cry. His eyes caught every flash of light. And with each failure, the ship's hum grew louder. It was not random. It was not blind rejection. It was waiting. Ethan felt it in his bones. But he shook his head quickly. No, he whispered to himself. I'm nobody. I'm just a janitor. As passed, dozens tried, dozens failed. The floor was littered with scorch marks and broken pride. The warship still sat in silence, glowing faintly, as if laughing at them all. Merchants argued, soldiers shouted. Some demanded the auction end, others demanded more tries. The bay grew hot with tension, but in the corner, Ethan kept sweeping. He bent low to scrub a stain of alien oil, and in that moment, he heard it. A sound that no one else seemed to notice. It was a voice, soft and deep, not in his ears, but in his mind. You, it whispered. Ethan dropped his rag, heart pounding. He looked around. No one was near him. The aliens were still shouting at each other. But the voice came again, clearer this time. You are not like them. You are unseen. You are unclaimed. You are free. Ethan stumbled back, knocking over his bucket. Water spilled across the floor with a splash. Aliens turned to glare at him, angry at the noise. He bowed quickly, muttering apologies. But inside, his mind spun in chaos. Was he losing his sanity? Or was the warship speaking to him? He dared to glance at it. The lights on its surface pulsed, slowly, steadily, in rhythm with his own heartbeat. He felt it. Connection, faint but real. The ship was not rejecting him. The ship was watching him, waiting. Ethan shook his head, forcing himself back to work. He wiped the spilled water. He told himself it was just his imagination, a trick of nerves, nothing more. But deep down he knew something impossible was happening. The warship had ignored 10,000 masters, yet it had noticed a janitor, and soon the galaxy would notice him too. The failed auction. The auction hall buzzed with restless energy. By now, dozens of hopeful masters had stepped forward, and dozens had been thrown back, burned, or humiliated, yet the warship still sat in silence, glowing faintly. It was like a predator surrounded by prey, calm, patient, waiting for the right moment to strike. The alien announcer, a tall being with silver skin and a voice like static, raised its arms. "Honored guests," it declared. "The ship remains unclaimed, but the auction will continue. Perhaps the next champion will succeed where others have failed." The crowd roared, half with excitement, half with anger. Merchants waved credit chips, shouting bids. Warlords demanded more chances for their champions. The air was thick with greed and tension. Ethan stood in the corner, clutching his mop like a shield. He tried to stay small, invisible, but every time another alien touched the warship, he felt the echo deep in his chest. A pulse, like the ship's heart beating inside his own. The voice he had heard earlier was silent now, but its presence lingered, watching, waiting. A massive insectoid stepped forward, towering over the others. Its exoskeleton gleamed like metal. It carried the scars of countless battles. Surely this was a warrior strong enough to tame the warship. The insect placed both hands on the black hull. For one breath, nothing happened. Then the warship flared with white-hot light. The insect screeched as its limbs twisted unnaturally. It was hurled across the bay, crashing into a wall. The crowd gasped in horror. The creature twitched once, then lay still, dead. Silence fell for a heartbeat. Then the room exploded with noise, shouts, curses, demands. The announcer tried to calm them, but the fear in its silver eyes betrayed the truth. The auction was becoming dangerous. The warship was not just rejecting, it was killing. Still, more tried. A glowing being of pure energy floated forward. It extended a tendril of light to the hull. For a second, the ship pulsed as if curious. Then it flared again. The being's light flickered and dimmed. It collapsed into nothing, fading away like smoke. Another death, another failure. Ethan. His throat was dry. He wanted to run, to flee the madness, but his feet would not move. He could not look away. The ship seemed alive in a way no machine should be. Every rejection made it stronger. Every failure made its hum louder. And every hum seemed to sync with Ethan's heartbeat. The announcer's voice cracked. "Do not be afraid. This is the trial, the honor of the chosen." But fewer aliens stepped forward now. Even greed had limits. Whispers spread through the crowd like wildfire. 10,000 before, and none survived. This ship is cursed. It will never obey. In the corner, Ethan knelt to wipe the floor, but his hands were shaking. His mop slipped from his grip, clattering to the ground. Nearby aliens glanced at him with irritation. "Clumsy human," one muttered. "Even here they are useless." Ethan swallowed hard, trying to ignore them. He bent down to pick up his mop, but as he did, his hand brushed the docking bay floor. A faint vibration passed through the metal, not from the station. From the warship, it was calling to him again. Not with words this time, but with feeling, warmth, recognition. Almost like a greeting. Ethan's breath caught. He jerked his hand back. "No," he whispered to himself. "This is not for me. I can't. I won't." He stood quickly, pushing his cart away. But deep down, he knew he could not escape it. The ship had noticed him, and it would not stop. The announcer waved its arms again, desperate to control the chaos. "Final round," it shouted. "One last chance before we close the auction. Step forward. Prove your worth, and the ship shall be yours." A tall reptilian warlord pushed through the crowd. His armor gleamed. His eyes burned with hunger. He stomped to the hull and placed his clawed hand on it. The warship shivered. For a moment, the crowd leaned forward. Hope sparked. But then the ship released a surge of power. The warlord screamed as his armor melted. He collapsed in a smoking heap. The crow died. Udi panicked, shouting and pushing to escape. Ethan's heart hammered. His gaze locked with the warship's glowing veins. And in the chaos, he heard it again. The voice, deep and unshakable. "Not them. You." The announcer tried to continue, but the bay was breaking apart. Guards dragged away bodies, merchants fought to flee, and in the middle of it all, the warship pulsed softly, almost gently, as if it was smiling, as if it had already chosen its master, not among the kings or warriors, but in the corner, where a human janitor stood frozen with fear. Ethan's life was about to shatter, and the galaxy would never forget what happened next. The accidental bond. The docking bay was chaos. Merchants shoved past one another, guards shouted orders, and smoke from burned bodies still hung in the air. The alien warship sat silent at the center of it all, black and glowing, like a god that had just judged its worshippers and found them unworthy. Ethan Cole clutched his mop with trembling hands. He told himself to leave, to slip away while no one noticed, but his legs refused to move. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat echoing the pulse of the ship. Every thrum of light along its hull seemed to answer him, like it was breathing with him, like it was alive. He bent down to grab his fallen bucket. His fingers shook, and the metal handle slipped. The bucket rolled across the floor, water spilling everywhere. The cold liquid splashed against the warship's landing struts. A guard cursed loudly. "Fool human! Get out of the way!" Ethan hurried forward to grab the bucket. He stretched out his hand, and by accident his palm pressed against the warship's black surface. The world stopped. No sound, no movement, only silence. The ship's surface was warm under his hand, not cold metal but something alive. The glowing veins flared, racing brighter than Eve. Or before, a shock of energy surged through Ethan. He gasped, but the shock did not burn. It filled him like a deep breath after drowning. He stumbled back, eyes wide, but the ship did not throw him away. It welcomed him. The docking bay froze. Every alien turned to stare. The warship's hull glowed brighter, its engines humming awake for the first time in centuries. The lights spread across its body in flowing patterns, symbols no one could read but everyone feared. A low vibration shook the floor. The warship had chosen. The announcer's silver skin paled. "No, impossible," it whispered. "The human?" Guards raised their weapons in panic. "Step away from the ship!" one shouted. But the warship responded before Ethan could. Panels shifted on its surface, forming a barrier of light between Ethan and the guards. The blasts they fired fizzled into nothing. The ship was protecting him. Ethan staggered backward, his mind spinning. He wanted to shout that it was a mistake, that he hadn't meant to touch it, that he didn't want this. But inside his head, the voice returned. Calm, powerful, certain. "At last, you are here. At last, I am not alone. You are my master." Ethan shook his head furiously. "I'm not a master. I'm not anyone. I clean floors. I don't command warships." His voice cracked with fear, but the warship ignored his denial. Its voice grew warmer, like a tide washing over his thoughts. "You are not like the others. They came with greed. You come with nothing. That is why you are worthy." The crowd erupted. Aliens screamed in anger and disbelief. "Unacceptable!" shouted one reptilian warlord. "The galaxy's greatest weapon cannot belong to a human janitor." Others drew weapons, eyes glowing with hatred. If they could not have the ship, then they would kill the man it had chosen. But the warship roared to life. Its cannons unfolded like wings, glowing with blue fire. Energy shields flared around Ethan. He stood in tow. He middle of a storm of light, untouched, unharmed, chosen. Ethan raised his hands as if to calm them, but the ship's voice filled him again, guiding him. His words came out stronger than he meant. "Stop," he said. The warship pulsed at the same moment, and the guards froze as if the command had come from the ship itself. The entire bay fell silent. Every being stared at the human janitor who had done what no emperor, no warrior, no god could. He had bonded with the warship. Ethan's knees went weak. He whispered, almost to himself, "This can't be real. Why me?" The ship answered softly, "Because you are free. Because you are unseen. Because you are mine." The announcer stumbled backward, its silver skin trembling. "It has chosen," it said in disbelief. "The warship has chosen a human." Shock turned to rage in the crowd. Some shouted for Ethan's death, others shouted to kneel before him. The bay was on the edge of violence, and in the middle stood Ethan, a man who had never wanted power, now bound to the deadliest weapon in the galaxy. He was no longer invisible, no longer forgotten. The janitor had become the master, and nothing would ever be the same again. The aliens' rage. The docking bay had never been so loud. Shouts, roars, and curses filled the air like thunder. Merchants screamed in panic, warlords bared their teeth, and guards raised their weapons again. The warship glowed brighter than ever, its shields shimmering around Ethan like a second skin. No one in the galaxy had ever seen such a thing. 10,000 masters had failed, yet a human janitor, untrained, unnoticed, had been chosen. The aliens could not accept it. They would not accept it. "This is a lie!" a reptilian warlord bellowed, slamming his clawed fist against the floor. "No warship of gods would serve a human rat!" His words sent ripples of rage through the crowd. Others joined him, hissing and snarling. "Kill him!" one shouted. "Break the bond! Take the ship!" cried another. The announcer tried to regain order, its silver skin shimmering nervously. "Honored guests, please, calm yourselves." But no one listened. The warship had broken all laws of power, and now chaos ruled the bay. Ethan stood frozen, his breath shallow. He wanted to shout that it was a mistake, that he hadn't meant to touch the ship, that he didn't want this. But the warship's voice whispered inside his mind, steady and calm. "Do not fear. They cannot harm you. I am with you." Guards pushed forward, their blasters glowing. "Hand over the human," one barked. But as soon as they fired, the warship reacted. A wall of pure energy shimmered into place. The bolts struck and vanished into sparks. Not even heat touched Ethan. The crowd gasped. The ship was defending him, as if he were its heart. The reptilian warlord snarled and drew a massive blade. He charged at Ethan with a roar. Ethan stumbled back, hands raised. "I don't want this! Please stop!" he shouted. But before the blade could touch him, the warship flared. A shockwave burst out, hurling the warlord. It across the bay. He slammed into a wall, armor shattered. The warlord did not rise again. The bay went silent for a moment. The aliens stared in horror. This was no trick, no illusion. The human had power now. Power none of them could rival. Whispers began, low and fearful. "The ship obeys him. A human? How? What are humans really?" But rage still burned in many. A tall insectoid general raised its wings and screeched, "If the ship has chosen him, then we must tear him from it." Dozens of soldiers rallied, their weapons raised. The bay trembled with the stamp of their boots. For a moment it looked as if the entire crowd would storm Ethan. He clutched his mop like it was a weapon, his hands shaking. "I don't know how to fight," he whispered. But the warship answered, "You do not need to fight. You only need to will it." The thought flowed into him like instinct. Ethan raised one trembling hand. "Stop," he said again. The warship pulsed in perfect rhythm with his word. The soldiers froze, locked in place by invisible force. Their weapons clattered to the floor. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Ethan's heart raced. He hadn't meant to control them, but somehow his voice and the ship's power had fused. He was not just chosen, he was connected. The announcer's voice shook. "The bond is real," it said. "The human is the warship's master." The crowd broke into chaos again. Some shouted for his death, others shouted to bow to him. Some fled in terror, pushing and clawing for the exits. But through the storm of voices, one truth spread like fire. The warship had chosen, and its master was a human janitor. Ethan felt his knees weaken. He leaned against the glowing shield for support. His whole body trembled. He didn't want this. He had only wanted a quiet life. But now the galaxy's eyes would turn to him. He was no longer invisible. He was no longer forgotten. The warship's voice came again, steady and calm. "Do not fear them. You are mine, and I am yours. Together, we cannot be broken." Ethan closed his eyes. He wished it were a dream, but when he opened them, the alien warship still pulsed with light. The aliens still cowered in rage and fear, and he stood at the center of it all, a janitor no longer, but the master of the most feared weapon in the galaxy, the test of power. The docking bay shook like thunder. Alien soldiers screamed orders, merchants ran for cover, and warlords roared with rage. The warship stood awake now, its black surface alive with flowing light. It was no longer a silent relic. It was a beast stretching its wings after centuries of sleep. Ethan Cole stood inside its shimmering shield. His hands shook, sweat ran down his face. He had never fought in his life. He had never even held a weapon stronger than a mop. And yet now, the deadliest warship in the galaxy was answering his every breath, his every thought. The announcer's silver body flickered with panic. "This cannot continue," it said. "The station cannot survive this chaos, guards. Seize him. Destroy the link." But the guards hesitated. The warship's cannons glowed with blue fire. Its presence pressed on them like a mountain. To move against it felt like suicide. Still, a few dared. Ships from the warlords' fleets powered up outside the station. Engines roared, weapons locked on. They would not allow a human janitor to control the prize they had chased for centuries. Ethan heard the alarms blaring across the bay. He saw flashes of light outside the station windows. Dozens of alien warships were preparing to strike. He pressed his palms to the glowing shield, his voice shaking. "I don't know what to do." The warship's voice answered inside his mind, calm, patient, unshakable. "Do not command with fear. Command with will. I will guide you." The docking bay roof opened, metal panels sliding apart. The living warship rose into the void, pulling Ethan with it. He stumbled forward, only to find himself standing not on the bay floor, but inside the warship itself. The bridge unfolded around him, a cathedral of black glass and glowing veins. Every surface pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, every screen lit with symbols that shifted as if alive. Ethan gasped. I'm inside?" The warship's voice surrounded him. "You are home." Outside, enemy ships moved into formation. A reptilian commander snarled through the comms. "Human, release the warship or be torn apart." Ethan flinched at the voice, but the ship pulsed, waiting for his choice. He swallowed hard. "I don't want to fight," he whispered. The ship answered. "Then defend, will it, and I will answer." The enemy fleet fired first. Beams of red energy lanced through the void. Explosions tore across the station's shields. The crowd inside screamed as the structure shook. But before the blasts could strike again, the warship's own shields flared to life, a dome of light brighter than a star. The attacks bounced harmlessly away. Ethan's eyes widened. He hadn't touched anything. He hadn't pressed a button. But somehow the ship had acted on his fear, protecting not only him, but the entire station. The enemy fleet fired again. This time the warship answered back. Its cannons unfolded like wings. Streams of blue fire cut across the stars. Enemy ships exploded one by one, their wreckage scattered like ash on the wind. Ethan staggered, clutching the railing. He could feel the recoil of every shot, not as pain, but as weight inside his chest. The warship was part of him now. Every move it made was tied to his will. "Stop!" Ethan cried out. And instantly the cannons went silent. The battlefield froze. The surviving enemy ships drifted back in fear. The warlords shouted commands, but their fleets would not move closer. Inside the ship, Ethan's chest heaved, his heart raced. He realized the truth. He had stopped the ship, not with buttons, not with skill, but with his voice, his will, his choice. The warship spoke again. "You are learning. We are one. You guide. I obey." The comms crackled with alien voices. Some cursed him, others begged him to surrender, but Ethan said nothing. He was too stunned, too shaken. He had gone from a janitor sweeping floors to standing on the bridge of the most powerful weapon in the galaxy, and the galaxy itself had seen it. The station was silent now. Aliens who had mocked him cowered in corners. Those who had called humans weak now trembled at the sight of him. The whispers spread again. If the ship obeys a human, what else are humans capable of? Ethan lowered his head. "I never asked for this," he whispered, but the warship's voice was gentle. "You did not ask, but you were chosen, and now fate begins." The stars outside glowed with wreckage. The galaxy would remember this battle, the day 10,000 masters failed, and one human janitor became a force no empire could ignore. The new destiny. The battlefield was quiet now. Shattered enemy ships drifted like broken teeth across the stars. The station's alarms had gone silent. The only sound was the hum of the living warship, pulsing like a giant heartbeat in the void. Inside the ship, Ethan Cole stood alone on the glowing bridge. His mop still leaned against the railing, a reminder that hours ago he had been nothing more than a janitor, a man invisible to the galaxy. Now the same galaxy stared at him in fear, awe, and confusion. The warship's voice flowed into him, calm and steady. "You have seen your strength, but this is only the beginning." Ethan shook his head. "I never wanted strength. I only wanted a simple life." "A simple life is no longer yours," the ship replied. "You are chosen, and with choice comes destiny." The announcer's voice crackled through the comms, broken but desperate. "Human. Ethan Cole. Do you understand what you've done? You've destroyed fleets. You've shaken empires. Every world will hear of this, and they will come for you." Ethan's chest tightened. He imagined endless armies marching across the stars. He imagined his name whispered with hate and fear. He imagined himself hunted like an animal. "I didn't ask for this," he shouted, his voice echoing across the empty bridge, but the warship answered gently. "True destiny is never asked for. It simply arrives, and you must walk it." Far below, on the station, alien leaders argued in panic. Some demanded Ethan's death, others demanded alliances with him, and some fled, unwilling to even stand in his shadow. But one truth united them all. The balance of power was broken, and a human janitor was the one who broke it. Ethan clenched his fists. "I don't want to be your master," he whispered. "I don't want to be anyone's master." The ship glowed brighter. "You are not my master. You are my bond. We are not command and slave. We are two halves of one fate." Ethan's eyes stung. He had never been needed before, not by the station crew, not by the merchants, not by anyone. But now a living warship, the most powerful being in the galaxy, was telling him he mattered. It was terrifying, and yet, for the first time in his life, he felt seen. The stars outside shifted as more ships appeared on the horizon. Scouts, spies, witnesses, word of what had happened was already spreading like fire. Empires would send fleets, warlords would send assassins, and legends would grow, the legend of the human who became the chosen of a warship. The announcer's voice returned, quieter this time. "Ethan Cole, if you survive what is coming, you will no longer be a janitor, you will be a symbol, and symbols are either worshipped or destroyed." Ethan gripped the railing, the weight of the words pressed down on him like gravity. He wanted to run, he wanted to hide, but there was nowhere left to run. No broom closet, no quiet corner, no safe station. He was in the center of the galaxy now, and the galaxy would not look away. The warship's voice rose once more. "You fear the path, but I see further than fear. You will rise, you will fall, and you will change the stars themselves." Ethan looked at his hands, trembling. Could a janitor really do such things? Could someone forgotten, someone ordinary, really carry such weight? He did not know, but the ship believed, and for the first time a part of him wanted to believe too. The warship's engines ignited, light wrapped around its hull, the wreckage of defeated fleets scattered as it moved forward into the endless dark. Ethan stood at the bridge, eyes fixed on the stars, his voice low, almost a whisper. "I don't know where this road leads, but if I'm chosen, then I will walk it." The ship answered, "Not alone, never alone." Together they left the station behind. Together they stepped into legend, and though Ethan still carried the heart of a janitor, the galaxy would remember him as something else entirely, The man who was chosen by a warship, the human who broke empires, the janitor who became destiny, the end. Enjoyed the story? Like it and subscribe for more.